Ladies and gentlemen, if you can, please stand for the presentation of colors by the USS Constitution Color Guard and remain standing for the singing of the national anthem performed by the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services Hyde Park Liaison Danielle Fonseca, and invocation provided by Chaplain Holly DeSaidu of the VA Boston Healthcare System.
Mark time, mark. Pull. Right, face. Breathe in. Mark.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order. Mark. Left, straight. Forward, march.
Thank you for your service. You have selflessly answered the call to protect and defend. You carry with you stories of valor and resilience. As we reflect on your contributions, in addition to our everlasting gratitude, it is essential to recognize that your journey doesn't end when you hang up your uniforms. Dear God above, look kindly upon us as we gather here to take care of your children who have served our nation with honor and dedication. We ask for your healing love to comfort and heal the wounds sustained from their time in service. Provide them with the courage and strength to overcome the challenges and to find renewed hope in their healing journey. Let them know they are not alone, and surround them with the love and support of family, friends, and communities. God grant solace, inner peace, and serenity, and may the burden experiences be lightened with time and understanding. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. And also thank you to the Constitution Color Guard and for Danielle for that great rendition of our national anthem. Fellow veterans, service providers, welcome to Boston City Hall Plaza. But before we continue, I would like to recognize some of our distinguished guests. Assistant Secretary of Labor, James Rodriguez, and his staff. Also here, the staff of the MADOL as well. Deputy Director of VA Healthcare System, Melissa Conway. Chief of Staff of VA Boston Healthcare System, Michael Charnes. Dr. Andrea Gail Bennett, Deputy Secretary of the Executive Office of Veteran Services here in the state of Massachusetts. Our great Mayor, Michelle Wu, 24-year Navy veteran and shipmate, City Hall Counselor Ed Flynn. Counselor Erin Murphy, who also chairs the Veteran Services and Military Affairs Committee here in the city of Boston. I also want to thank Andy McCauley and his team at the New England Center and Home for Veterans for once again taking the lead to make this stand down happen. And it's great to see so many people here, so if we could give it up to the team at the New England Center. It's very important to have and to keep it here at City Hall Plaza. There is no better place because here at Government Center, there are many, oh yes, please be seated. There are many other services just feet away from this stand down. Of course, we have City Hall. We have the JFK building just right behind it. The McCormick building up the hill with many other state services and many other services just located in this geographic area. Stand downs like this do not happen in a silo. It takes a village. And for this stand down, the community includes all of our service providers here today. We all work together to give our veterans a better quality of life. Every service here is a pathway to employment, a pathway to housing, a path to benefits you may not have been aware of, like Mass General Law, Chapter 115. This would all lead to a path to a higher quality of life. This standout is not about a handout. It's about giving a hand up. The providers here today work hard every day to break down barriers. They work hard so our veterans and their families can have access to and receive the services and benefits that they have earned. And not just today. Once these tents come down this afternoon, the services and benefits will and must continue. We will continue to strive to give our veterans and their families a better quality of life. I urge everyone to take advantage of these services here today and to follow up with and all the providers that you visited here today. And for the providers as well, I expect that you will not lose contact with these veterans, as the veterans will do everything they can to keep contact with you as well. Today's event is a very special event because we have combined the speaking portion of the stand down with our POW MIA recognition ceremony. So please stick around and be a part of our recognition ceremony of those who have yet to return home, because we as a nation will never forget. Thank you. At this time, we will now begin the opening ceremony for the Greater Boston Stand Down. Please join me in welcoming Warren Maganol, Vice President of the New England Center and Home for Veterans.
Good morning. At this time, I'd like to introduce the President and CEO of the New England Center and Home for Veterans, Andy McCauley. Put your hands together. Thank you.
Good morning and welcome. Mayor Wu, Secretary Rodriguez, Director Conway, Council President Flynn, veterans, Gold Star families, distinguished guests, service providers, and volunteers. I'm Andy McCauley, and on behalf of the dedicated and professional team here at the New England Center and Home for Veterans, I want to welcome everyone to today's Greater Boston Veteran Stand Down. It is doubly special to be holding the stand down on National Prisoner of War Missing in Action Recognition Day. I would like to first thank the veterans and their families attending today's stand down. Thank you for your service to this nation and for your sacrifice and willingness to put your lives on the line to protect our country and our freedoms. Thank you, Mayor Wu, Commissioner Santiago, for again hosting the Greater Boston Veterans Stand Down here at Boston's Center, City Hall Plaza, a fitting and the premier venue to honor military service and to provide a day of services to those who have served. Your Honor, the City of Boston is the best place to live for veterans because of your leadership and support. Thank you. This is actually the 6th veteran stand down here on the plaza and the 9th that the center has coordinated over the last 10 years. We had to take a break for COVID, but we're really back and we're really excited. Although the New England Center serves as the overall coordinator for the event, and I want to specifically recognize Ms. Victoria Bufano and Ms. Ali Pastori for their year-long work and leadership. As Commissioner Santiago said, the stand down requires a team to make it a reality. A team of volunteers, public and private organizations, providers, and businesses that each play a crucial part. Thank you to all. Each and every one of you is a key participant. And I could not begin to list all the wonderful organizations that have come together today, but I would like to call out just a few as a sampling of the commitment to veterans and their welfare. Thank you for the Massachusetts National Guard and the team of soldiers who have supplied the vital infrastructure here today, configured the setup, and provided for its security all night long. We could not do this without you. Thank you. Ultimately, a Veterans Stand Down is sponsored by the U.S. Department of Labor, Veterans Employment and Training Services. Thank you, Secretary Rodriguez, and your team nationally and here locally. Of course, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and the Massachusetts Executive Office of Veterans Services are critical and important allies. Thank you very much for all that you do every single day for veterans. I want to close again by saying to all veterans and their families, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Andy McCauley. At this time, I want to introduce James D. Rodriguez, Assistant Secretary, U.S. Department of Labor. The Honorable James D. Rodriguez is the U.S. Department of Labor's Assistant Secretary of Veterans Employment and Training. He is responsible for preparing America's veterans, service members, and their spouses for meaningful careers. Mr. Rodriguez is an executive leader and proud veteran with more than 30 years of experience in the U.S. government.
That stuff doesn't matter.
Mr. Rodriguez at this time.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So, on behalf of the entire Department of Labor Veteran Employment Training Service out of Washington, D.C., but most importantly, our folks with boots on the ground here in the great city of Boston, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to come and experience this. Mayor, thank you for taking your time and coming out, because I know it's extremely important for people to see their leadership buying into what we do for our veterans every day. And of course, the New England Center. So thank you, Andy, for giving me the invitation to come and do this. I wear my hat proudly. As you all can tell, I served in the Marine Corps for 21 years. But when you look across this entire country, I see some people saying, no, that's exactly what we're supposed to do. When you get around veterans, that's exactly what veterans do, right? We talk about why it's important to make sure that we all recognize the fact that we are still one team and one fight when it comes to doing what's best for our veterans. But we can't do this without our volunteers. We can't do this without our city committing to something that is inherently important, and that's serving those who served. Those who raised their right hand and said, choose me. I'll be the one who, when called, will answer the call of duty, whether it's at home or abroad, and yet, oftentimes, that call is never unanswered when they come back and they need a job. or when they need support services. And so that's why we at the Department of Labor, in partners with our local partners at the city, at the state level, that's why we gather together to ensure that they do have those resources when they do need them. What's inherently important, though, is that we understand the value of that service, whether they serve 1 year, 20 years, or 30 years, but what's important is that they actually served. We also have heard the data that only 1% of people in the United States actually serve. So it's important for us to recognize the fact that we do have an obligation to continue to support them when they need our service the most. And oftentimes that's when they're in the most need. So having volunteers, having the community together, having organizations come together shows where our strength in this country lies. Oftentimes when you hear that sometimes we are divided as a nation, but when you come out here and you see everybody coming together from the community, you understand how important it is to come together when we need it the most. And these are type of events that remind us why we are in a country that values our veterans and their service, and of course our military families. Oftentimes our military families, our military spouses are forgotten when it comes to the support that is required. And one of the things that we do at our agency is ensure that they are part of the conversation. And so with that, I would again thank everybody, thank the volunteers, but most importantly, thank the veterans who have the trust and confidence in the city, the trust and confidence in the volunteers and the organizations who put this together to do what's best for them and provide the resources that they need when they need them. And it's indeed an honor to come out of Washington, D.C. and see what's happening at our states. So I can go back and tell our leaders in Washington, D.C. the great work that you are doing, why we provide funding for these programs, and the continuous need for these programs. So thank you all for giving me a few minutes to share my thoughts, but also to spend a little bit of time with everybody today. So thank you all.
Thank you, Secretary Rodriguez. Ms. Conway joined the VA Boston healthcare system in July 2008 and held a number of positions leading to her role as acting deputy director in 2023. Ms. Conway obtained her undergraduate degree in management from Bentley University and her master's degree in public health from Yale School of Public Health. She is a VHA certified mentor and fellow at the American College of Healthcare Executives. In 2020, Ms. Conway was the recipient of the ACHE VA Region Award for Early Career Healthcare Executives. Please join me in welcoming Melissa Conway.
Secretary Rodriguez, Mayor Wu, Commissioner Santiago, Captain McCauley, our partner veteran service organizations here with us today, veterans, families, and friends. Thank you for joining us and working together to provide the care and services veterans have earned. At VA, we work every day to fulfill Lincoln's promise to care for those who have borne the battle and their families, caregivers, and survivors. Providing homeless and at-risk veterans with accessible, world-class healthcare can be a challenge. In a world of telehealth and virtual care, there are those that still need in-person appointments and on-site care. Providing resources, education, and advocacy, VA Boston works to ensure homeless veterans remain safe and healthy while navigating challenging times. Between VA, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the City of Boston, and our other partners here today, we have the care and services these veterans need. Our ability to work with our community partners creates lasting impact for some of the most vulnerable veterans. Cultivating these teams that care for our veterans creates a sense of safety and encouragement. Temporary and long-term housing, clothing, medical care, mental health care, employment assistance, legal services, transportation, it's all here thanks to our group efforts. And we are here today to connect the available care and services with the veterans that need them most. Because no veteran should be without a place to feel safe and warm. And every veteran should have access to the benefits they have earned. To everyone here today helping make this happen, thank you. It's an honor to be here today with you, serving our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conway. Councilor Flynn represents the City of Boston's District 2 and serves as the President of the City Council. Councilor Flynn exemplifies the idea of lifelong service to his community and our nation. He serves for a quarter of a century in the U.S. Navy and Navy Reserves and is a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom and deployed in support of disaster relief efforts in Haiti. His personal engagement and leadership are impactful across the city, but no more so than here at the center and in support of the veterans here. Whether advocating for federal resources or personally delivering COVID protective equipment to the center at the height of the pandemic, Councilor Flynn makes every difference. The city and its veterans are lucky to have his leadership. Please welcome Boston City Councilor President Ed Flynn.
Thank you. That's okay. Thank you. I'm honored to be here and honored to be with colleagues in government, including Mayor Wu, Commissioner Santiago, the chair of the Veterans Committee at the City Council, Erin Murphy. I just want to thank all three of them for always being a strong advocate and supporter for veterans and military families across Greater Boston. So I really appreciate that strong leadership from all three. I wasn't sure what I would say today coming here on this National POW MIA Day, but that's certainly an incredibly important day as we remember those families that also paid the supreme sacrifice with their loved one. And we also want to recognize our Gold Star families that are here too for the incredible sacrifice you have made for our country. But I also want to just reflect a little bit on some of the previous speakers, and it's good to be with you, Mr. Secretary, as well. In this city has always been a strong supporter of veterans and military families, as has the Commonwealth, as has the nation. But let me just add one story. It hasn't always been that way, and even recently. I don't like to tell this story because I'm embarrassed about it. But even recently on the Boston City Council, we actually cut $1 million from the veterans budget. Thankfully, Mayor Wu didn't support that. But that $1 million cut would have had a major impact on veterans and military families, especially those in need. And we can't call ourselves a great society, a great city, a great country, and we thank veterans on Veterans Day, and oh, by the way, we're going to cut your budget because you really are not a priority. So that was probably my worst day in city government in 6 years. But thankfully, veterans stood up. And veterans across the country, they stood up and they said, we shouldn't have cut the budget 25 cents, never mind $1 million. We should have cut it 5 cents. And we received calls from all over the country. If it can happen in the most progressive city in America, it can happen anywhere. I guess my point of the story is, let's not just thank veterans on Veterans Day for their service. Let's advocate every day to make sure that those services are always there, that our elected officials know how important someone like Commissioner Santiago is doing, how important that department is for the city of Boston. Those departments are to the state of Massachusetts and to the federal government as well. So let's advocate together in support of veterans, because we're not giving them anything. They've earned that. And I'm proud to engage in so many programs affiliated with the VA as well, including mental health counseling at Causeway Street and Jamaica Plain, my primary care in West Roxbury as well. So I just want to say thank you to everybody here that's doing everything they possibly can, supporting veterans and military families throughout Greater Boston and throughout the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn, for all of your remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, now it gives me great pleasure and an honor to have you all join me in welcoming our mayor, which, as City Council President Ed Flynn has said, is a huge advocate and supporter of our veterans, and she has proven results. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mayor Michelle Wu.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for your presence today, for your insistence on being here when you could be anywhere, and for, as Council President Flynn mentioned, your advocacy every single day, not just in the moments where there are a lot of people coming together and cameras and speaking program, but in the day-to-day 24/7 work that happens in this city. I want to thank those colleagues that were recognized already, City Council President, Councilor at Large Murphy, and of course, the best Veterans Commissioner in the entire country, Rob Santiago. We're also joined today here by other colleagues in our cabinet at City Hall, the Chief of Human Services, Jose Masso, who oversees this commission and many others that provide direct services to every generation of Bostonian. Thank you. Our Chief of Housing, Sheila Dillon, whose work is critical and is often the first call, no matter what time of night, when there is someone in need in our city. And we're so honored to be joined by our partners and leaders at the federal and the state level and in our advocacy community across Boston. So thank you so much, Mr. Secretary. Thank you to Deputy Executive Director Conway and to everyone representing our state government as well. I will echo what Annie McCauley said, that Boston is the very best city when it comes to standing up for veterans, and that requires a vigilance day in and day out. But it is because of this constellation of organizations that we make that possible. Today we get a glimpse of what that looks like. The stand down happens in one central location where veterans and their family members and community can connect with more than 100 organizations that offer housing assistance, medical care, wellness programs, legal support, employment assistance, and everything in between. Too often, services and opportunities may exist, but they're across the city or across the state. It's hard to get to, and you might not even know what is available to address the very need that your family is experiencing. We are committed to taking down every barrier for those who have served and making sure to support those who are serving our veterans and their families. That's why I'm so grateful to the New England Center and Home for Veterans for hosting this event year after year and for making sure that 24 hours a day there is an accessible place where our veterans can find that dignity, support, and services that they need. I'm really excited that this year we're back on this side of City Hall Plaza. Last year, all of the bricks were ripped up and it was fenced off as we were reconstructing the plaza, and so we were kind of compressed in a mini version on that side. But this is where we deserve to be, and this is where we're going to make sure we are the first place to stand up for veterans, our military families, Gold Star families, and all who contribute to our city. I want to say a little additional word about where we are. Obviously, we're in the shadow of Boston City Hall. There are mixed reviews of the appearance of the building, but anyway, I'm not going to pick that fight today. I love the building. I think it's architecturally a gem. I know there are many buildings in DC that are kind of like this style as well. The Department of Labor, one of those, similar. But one feature of this building and the unique time period that it was built in, it really was supposed to be about transparency. At a time when so many of the other official buildings were made of marble columns and big entryways that made you feel as small as possible when you went in, and coming from an immigrant family, I know I always felt like, do I quite belong here? Is this, it's too fancy for me. This building was made of concrete, the material that anyone pours and can see across the city, and every bit of its shape was designed so that you could see exactly what was happening on the other side of it. There's no fake ceilings, everything goes all the way up to the top. You see every bit of function reflected. You see those funny kind of cutout shapes right above the door. Those are the seats in the Boston City Council chamber. So you can see, even before you go in, the very places where our democracy happens. And I bring all this up to talk about the bricks a little, where we all are sitting or standing. One feature of the building is to really make clear that this is a people's building. And if you go inside, we've recently made the entrance accessible. The whole first floor and the first area are bricks as well, inside the building. And that was meant to create a sense that you are supposed to be out here. Everywhere you see the red brick that represents Boston and New England, everywhere you belong on those bricks out here, you belong on those bricks in there as well. It is one continuous connection for our residents to be part of and to own everything that happens in these buildings. And so that's why it's important for us to be here on this plaza today. I want to reflect a little bit also, just to thank and uplift what the council president was saying. Democracy is messy. Things happen that we may not be proud of every day. The discussions are complex, and this is what our service members do. Our veterans have put their lives on the line to protect our democracy, where everyone's voice can be heard, where disagreements happen, and in that mix of everyone's freedoms being on the same level, that the best ideas will emerge that represent all of us. And so we were proud to make sure that the Veterans Commission had their full funding and every penny that was deserved. And I'm proud that in that messy mix of democracy, in the Boston City Council and city government, you have counselors whose voices are always steadfast for our veterans. That no matter what, you can count on the city council president, you can count on the committee chair to ensure that our veterans are solidly at the table, even when they're not physically sitting there in those seats. Anytime that our commissioner is advocating in DC, odds are Council President Ed Flynn is right there alongside him, representing all of city government. So thank you, Ed. Thank you, Aaron, and to all the members of the City Council. So, we are transitioning a little bit to the recognition portion of the ceremony. We are proud to support all of our veterans and to connect everyone with services, but every day we recognize the sacrifice of those who have not yet returned to receive these services. Today we are marking National POW MIA Recognition Day. And on this day and every day, we hold them in our hearts. We offer our deepest gratitude to them and to their families who carry this sacrifice every day. And so on behalf of the entire city of Boston, I am grateful for the service of all our troops. I salute them and their families. And it is with great pride that on behalf of the entire city, I issue this official proclamation declaring today POW MIA Day here in the city of Boston. And I'll just read a little bit from the proclamation. I won't read all of it. But we know that more than 140,000 service members have been captured by enemy forces since World War I. Over 80,000 Americans who fought in those wars are still missing. And of those 80,000 Americans still missing in action, more than 3,000 are residents of Massachusetts. So whereas Boston is proud to support its residents who answer the nation's call to arms in defending our safety and freedoms, providing services and support to veterans, families, and surviving family members, and whereas Boston has a long tradition of raising the POW MIA flag to commemorate POW MIA Recognition Day, supporting its veterans within the community. Now, therefore, I, Michelle Wu, do hereby proclaim September 15, 2023 to be POW MIA Recognition Day in the city of Boston. I urge all fellow Bostonians to join us in recognizing the honor, services, sacrifice, of our prisoners of war and those missing in action. And I order the property managed department of the incredible team we have here to raise the POW MIA flag on the third flagpole on City Hall Plaza in place of the City of Boston flag.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for your words and for the proclamation. And thank you, Danielle, once again for a great rendition of God Bless America. Now we're going to transition into our POW MIA recognition ceremony. But before I do, I have something for Secretary Rodriguez. A little bit earlier, he had mentioned that he wears his Marine Corps hat very, very proudly. He's a 21-year Marine Corps veteran, so thank you for your service, sir. But I think today is only fitting that you wear a City of Boston Veteran Services hat. So ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome now to the 2023 Prisoners of War and Missing in Action Recognition Ceremony. Thank you for joining us as we reflect upon the extraordinary sacrifices made on behalf of our country by former American prisoners of war, as well as those who are still missing and unaccounted for. We remember the heroism and sacrifices made by tens of thousands of our fellow Americans who endured captivity in enemy hands, as well as those whose fate still remain uncertain. Today we observe POW MIA Recognition Day, a day set aside to recognize those Americans who remain listed, and to remind everyone of our nation's commitment of keeping the promise. Keeping the promise to fully account for everyone listed as prisoners of war or missing in action. Those who have served and those currently serving the uniformed services of the United States are ever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who have endured and may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and internment. All Americans should never forget. Never forget the brave men and women who answered our nation's call and served the cause of freedom in a very special way. Today, as you have seen behind me, the POW MIA flag is raised and flying high. We pledge to live by its creed. You are not forgotten. We are committed to our POWs and to the fullest possible accounting of our missing and their families from all wars and all of our nation's past conflicts, just as we are committed to those who wore and continue to wear the uniform today. No other country has devoted as much energy and so many resources to account for its fallen. Here in the United States, we have a federally funded agency dedicated to bringing back all of our heroes back home. The Defense POW MIA Agency, DPAA, is an agency whose sole mission is to recover American military personnel listed as prisoners of war or missing in action from past conflicts in countries around the world. Today we pause because we believe that life is precious, and because those who put their lives on the line for this country need to know that we spared no effort to bring them home. We have a particular chair that we set out every day. You can see one here, called the Chair of Honor. You have seen chairs like this in other places such as Fenway Park and the TD Garden. This particular chair is set behind me in City Hall. It is a symbol to those who have served or are still serving or are a military family, that their service will never be forgotten. Joe Detremont, a Boston resident who was founder and former president of Rolling Thunder Inc., MA1, has dedicated his life to ensuring that these chairs are seen throughout our country. Joe himself is responsible for 100 chairs of honor and being placed throughout the Commonwealth. This includes Gillette Stadium, the TD Garden, Fenway Park, and here in Boston City Hall. He was successful in having a chair of honor placed in halls of Congress. You now see these chairs throughout the country, and it's because of Joe. So Joe, you're out there here somewhere, so thank you very much. I myself, as a retired Navy veteran, take great pride in how we, as Americans, continue to never forget. Never forget that those who have yet to come home recognize those who are prisoners of war and to support their families. We must uphold the legacy of those service members left unaccounted for and continue our commitment to our former prisoners of war. As we honor all former prisoners of war, it must be stated that these heroes have endured one of the greatest challenges, especially for Americans, and that is the loss of personal freedom. We also honor and support the families who never abandon hope for the missing. The families' unwavering faith is an inspiration to us all, so thank you. Today's servicemen and women can bravely and confidently serve, knowing that if they too fall in battle, this great nation will do everything in its power to bring them home. And a true example of this is Wing Oh Hum, who was born on January 10th, 1924, and resided here in Boston. Private Hum entered the United States Army and served in World War II. In February of 1944, Hum was assigned to B Company 7th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry, and on February 2nd, 1944, Hum went missing. While his unit was engaged in defense fighting against German forces near the town of Di Latina, Italy. After his body was not recovered and he wasn't reported as a prisoner of war, Hum was declared dead on February 3rd, 1944. In 1946, a set of remains were found 3 miles west of Cisterna. Unable to positively identify the remains, they were interred at the Sicily, Rome American Cemetery. A DPAA historian believed that the set of remains could possibly be Hum's. And in September of 2021, the remains at Sicily Home American Cemetery was disinterred and sent to the DPAA laboratory at Air Force Base in Nebraska. The remains were formally identified as Hum's on April 6th of this year, 2023. Wing Oh Hum will be repatriated to the United States next month. We here in the city of Boston will be installing a hero square in his honor where he lived. His family will have his remains interred in Brooklyn, New York on October 11th of 2023. Wing Hum was posthumously awarded a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star. So let us remember them today. Let us never forget their sacrifices. Remember them today, tomorrow, every day, and when they come home. Remember them. At this time, I would like to welcome up our next speaker. She's the president of the Greater Boston chapter of the Gold Star Wives, Peggy Griffin.
I will, thank you. Thank you, Rob, for inviting me to speak today, and welcome to everyone, our federal elected officials, especially Mayor Wu, and our President of the City Council, Ed Flynn. For 78 years, Gold Star Wives of America has been a support group for the spouses who have lost their wife or husband due to their military service. The first meeting was held in New York City on April 5th, 1945. The new organization was incorporated in New York. Eleanor Roosevelt was one of our 5 signatories establishing the organization. Maureen Dunn was a Gold Star wife. Her husband's unarmed plane was shot down on February 14th, 1968 in the South China Seas. Maureen worked to raise awareness of POW and MIA's families until she died in 2013, and she never found what she was looking for, her husband. But Maureen was the person who began this ceremony and every year insisted that the commissioner in the city of Boston put it on. We continue that tradition with Rob. We represent all eras of military service, whether the loss for the family was in the line of duty, while on duty, or due to a service-connected disability. Gold Star Wives is a unique organization providing services not otherwise provided, and received a congressional charter in 1980 as a National Veteran Service Organization. Greater Boston chapter is our second oldest chapter in the United States. We have about 170 members, but we're unique. Our objective is not to grow, but to be there when families need us. The cost of our membership is too high. We strive to assist our members in any way possible to provide support and information. Our organization is also one of service and community. We volunteer to serve veterans at veterans hospitals, the homeless shelter. We do several programs with them. And we staff community events. And we seek to help our members retain their social connection, which they often lose when they lose their spouse. And so we attend also many memorial services like today. We want to be sure that people say their names, that they remember the sacrifices of those soldiers and their families, and that they're not forgotten. And so that, for us, is what today is all about. We want to make sure that those families know that we're here. We remember them, we remember you, and we honor you this day and every day. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to call up the Deputy Secretary of the Massachusetts Veteran Services Department, Brigadier General Retired Andrea Gale Bennett.
Good morning, everyone. Hold on one second while I get these notes in the right place. So Mayor Wu, Secretary Rodriguez, Deputy Director Conway, Councilor Flynn, Andy McCauley, Commissioner Santiago, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and say a few words on behalf of the Executive Office of Veteran Services. I'm deeply honored and privileged to be able to stand here with you today as we honor the POW and MIA. At this ceremony that's hosted by the Greater Boston Stand Down, this occasion marks a special place in our hearts as we are here to honor those who've endured unimaginable sacrifices in service to our nation, to this country, and to never forget the brave men and women who have been prisoners of war and those who remain missing in action. This Greater Boston stand-down brings together veterans, service providers, and caring citizens, and it's a testament to the collective support and commitment that we have to those who have served, and to honorably serve those who have served us, and to offer assistance, gratitude, and camaraderie to our veterans, many of whom, as I mentioned, have faced unimaginable challenges and sacrifice during and after their service. We also want to pay tribute to the families of the prisoners of war and the MIAs whose sacrifices go unnoticed, but are equally profound. Their support, their unwavering support, their resilience, and their strength exemplify the spirit that defines our military families. We also must remember the brave individuals who were taken as prisoners of war and the hardships that they endured, the isolation, yet they held on to hope. And so we have to remember the families who anxiously await their loved one's return and live forever marked by uncertainty. We must also remember those who their absence is a constant reminder of the profound cost of freedom. Our commitment to accounting for every service member who has not returned home is something that's very unique to this country. We owe it to them and their families to leave no stone unturned in our desire and our quest to bring closure and peace. Our duty does not end here. We must continue to advocate for veterans' rights and well-being. We must ensure that they have access to care and support they deserve, and that their sacrifices are recognized and not just in words, but in actions. So in closing, let's carry the spirit of today with us throughout the year. Let's not forget the valor, the resilience, and the sacrifice of our POWs and MIAs, our veterans and their families. Let's build them, let's honor them by building a society that truly values and supports those who have defended our freedom. Thank you for everyone who is here today. Thank you for the veteran support organizations. Thank you for the health organizations. Thank you to all the volunteers who are here. Together we will create this legacy for our heroes, and we will never forget. And we will let the families know that their loved ones are never forgotten. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you're able to, please stand for the presentation of the missing service member table by our Community Relations Specialist, Ellie Pollack, and assisted by the Boston University ROTC program.
I call your attention to this small table on my left, which occupies a place of dignity and honor. It is reserved to honor our missing comrades in arms. I will explain. It is set for one, symbolizing the fact that members of our armed forces are missing from our ranks. They are referred to as prisoners of war and missing in action. We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families today. So we join together to pay our humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continued absence. This honors ceremony symbolizes that they are with us in spirit. The table, as you can see, is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against their suppressors. The table is round. It shows our everlasting concern. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their motives when responding to their country's call to arms. The single red rose signifies the blood they may have shed in sacrifice to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States and her allies. The rose also reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep the faith while we await their return. The yellow ribbon symbolizes our continued uncertainty, hope for their return, and our determination to account for them. A slice of lemon on the bread plate reminds us of their bitter fate, captured or missing in a foreign land. A pinch of salt sprinkled on the bread plate reminds us of the countless tears of our missing and their families. The lighted candle reflects the light of hope which in our hearts to illuminate their way home, to open arms of a grateful nation. The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share a toast. The chair is empty. They are missing. We will now honor those who have not returned home with the playing of taps.
It was no coincidence. Those booms that you heard during the POW MIA table come from the USS Constitution. They're having their final turnaround cruise this year. So while not a coincidence, it was fitting that that the booms came at the same time as we were dedicating the POW MIA table. Would you like to do it? Now we're going to have our benediction.
Bless all those who have served our country in good faith, and those still serving and preserving freedom, justice, and peace. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our POW MIA ceremony for 2023. And remember, let us never forget, and let them know that they are not forgotten. Thank you.